Hello and welcome to Car File. Every week we're going to take a look at a group of cars all following a particular theme to bring you the ultimate guide to choosing and buying motors. We'll tell you what works and what doesn't, and when manufacturers make claims that aren't strictly true, well, we'll let you know. But first, this week our cars can all be called hot hatches. In other words, they're small, they're fast, they're fun, they're funky, and they're the stuff that teenage dreams are made of.
Richard, get out of bed. Look, it's 1 o'clock and stop dreaming about those naughty cars. I won't tell you again. Make yourself useful and bring the milk in.
So what would happen if your teenage dream came true and you got to take your pick of the hottest hatches on the market? Well, let's find out, eh? Now, you may well notice that when we say hot hatches, we haven't gone for the teeny-weeny hot hatches. I mean, the Saxo VTRs and VTSs of this world. For the simple reason we thought we'd get something a little bit more grown up. When we say teenage, I suppose we're probably talking early 20s, something that you can actually live with so that it's maybe got a bit wider appeal. And the first of them is this, the Toyota Corolla T Sport. With just a nudges under 200 brake horsepower from its 2-litre engine, the Toyota is the second most powerful of all the cars that we're going to look at today, and it certainly doesn't disappoint in the engine department. Neither in the gear department. I've got six, which is loads. When we say T Sport, it forms part of Toyota's range of T Sport versions. They do the same with their little baby Yaris. Basically, it is the sporting version of it, and I guess you can see immediately. Externally, it looks pretty aggressive, pretty sharp, and pretty obviously a hot hatch. The Toyota Corolla T Sport utilises a 1.8-litre 16-valve VVTi engine to produce 189 brake horsepower. Top speed is 140 miles an hour, 0 to 60 is dashed off in 8.4 seconds, and again we get the de rigueur 6-speed gearbox. Insurance group though, just 14. Now, some say it's bad journalistic practice to open a feature like this with your conclusions. You're supposed to tease, cajole and amuse your viewer, listener or reader and take them with you on an entertaining and informative voyage of discovery. Ideally, you should open with one viewpoint, gradually prove it wrong and close with an entirely different conclusion. Well, bugger that, this thing's fab and I'm not about to say otherwise. The new Mini Cooper S is as cute, stylish and adorable as the rest of the Mini range, but with more of everything thrown in. More oomph, more scoops, more spoilers, more style, even more gears. Now let's calm down here and take an anorak moment to consider just what has changed for the Mini Cooper S. Overall, it looks even more squat, purposeful and aggressive, but without ever stopping looking cute. It has gained chrome touches all over the place, a rear roof spoiler, new front grille, and best of all, a great big intake scoop on the bonnet. And that is a clue, because it's not there just for cosmetic reasons only. Trouser-worryingly good though it looks. big changes are underneath. It gains a supercharger and intercooler, hence the bulging bonnet. That pushes power up to 163 brake horsepower and brings the 0 to 62 miles an hour time down to 7.4 seconds. The suspension is retuned as well, and they even chuck in a 6-speed gearbox. Ain't new. It's not like a turbo where you dawdle along and then there's a terrifying tidal wave of power all of a sudden. With the supercharger, it's just constant drive. You can row it through the 6 gears and just enjoy that huge amount of torque. It is tremendous fun, and it does sound fantastic. The Mini Cooper S may be small, but the numbers aren't that dinky. 163 brake horsepower means a top speed of 135 miles an hour. It's all thanks to a 1.6 litre 16-valve supercharged engine. 7.4 seconds is all it takes to hit 60 miles an hour. Again, we have 6 speeds in the gearbox. Insurance Group, 15. Yes, well, meanwhile, back on planet Earth, and we've got to the second of our slightly more realisable teenage dreams. And if you've ever wondered what a fiery Spanish VW would be like, it'd be a lot like this, the Seat Leon. This, of course, isn't just any old Seat Leon. After all, we're talking hot hatches here, so this is the CUPRA, the hot version. That means it gets a 1.8 litre turbocharged engine, 20 valves if you're interested, that's 5 per cylinder, and 180 brake horsepower. It'll propel the thing from 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds, which is certainly rapid enough. Top speed of 147 mph, which means it's very much a hot hatch. As a drive, you really can't knock the Seat Leon CUPRA. That engine, despite being a small turbocharged engine, which would usually make for nothing happening until you get to late in the rev range and then boing, it all arrives at once. It isn't like that. There's actually plenty of pull and low down torque, which means there's always power available. It is perhaps a little bit lacklustre right at the bottom of the range, but then you would expect some of that. And in terms of absolute handling, well, it's a doddle to drive quick, but it doesn't feel nimble. It doesn't feel light. It feels substantial. In the same way that, say, the current Golf GTI is nothing like the original Golf GTI. This, well, it's more like the current one. It's a bit heavy and a bit cumbersome. Not surprisingly, really, of course, it shares the platform with it, along with most other cars on the market, and probably a toaster too. OK, facts time, slip on your anorak. The Seat Leon CUPRA 1.8 litre 20-valve turbocharged engine means it can scamper from 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds. You can waggle your way through the 6-speed gearbox, whilst 180 brake horsepower will propel you to a top speed of 142 miles an hour. Mind you, insurance is costly, Group 16. If the Seat Leon really is a teenage dream, then it's a bit of a boring teenager. This is the kind of thing you could take home to your mum. Not what you want in your teenage years. Now, every week on the programme, we're going to be bringing you a selection of tips to help you buy cars from that week's category. So for this week, stand by for a handful of helpful, handy hot hatch hints. If we're going to look at buying hot hatches, we've got to start by deciding just why are we so drawn to the things in the first place.
The main reason for the revival in the hot hatch market is the lower insurance premiums. There's been a reduction in insurance premiums and also an increase in specification on most of the hot hatches.
The market has changed. Slightly older people are buying the car, more 30s people, and there are a lot more women buying.
Of course, a car designed to go fast is going to be driven, well, fast.
People believe that the cars are going to be driven harder. They're not. At the end of the day, the car is faster and the performance is increased, but they're also a lot safer at slower speeds.
So are all of these cars bought by pimply-faced youths desperate to prove something to their friends?
people my age, which is just sub 40, are realising they can have a sporty image but can still have all the things that they want for the family life. And the cars are more subtly styled than they were when the original hot hatches came out.
It's pathetic, isn't it? We'll have more teenage dreams after the break when we get to grips with the Honda Civic Type-R. That's if we can get it out of the grip of our grubby teenager. Come on, let go, you sad wretch. Welcome back to the all-new Car File, the definitive guide to choosing and buying new cars. Our theme for this week is teenage dreams in the form of hot hatches. And this, the Honda Civic Type-R, is just about the hottest of them all. Anywhere between 2 and 2.5 seconds in the Honda Civic Type-R is enough to remind you just what a hot hatch is all about. It's pin sharp and it just shrieks aggression and fast car, externally and internally. It's got every single styling cue you could possibly want on a hot hatchback. The engine belts out 197 brake horsepower, but it doesn't just chuck it out. Oh no, it's cleverer than that. It uses Honda's clever VTEC technology, which briefly, it just changes the characteristics of the engine. So when you're using it around town, it'll poodle around no problem. You won't upset Granny in the seat next to you. When you open it up a bit out on the country roads though, things are very different. It gets quite busy in here. The ride is firm, you feel you're in something special. Not a sensation you get in either of the other two cars we've looked at today. But at the same time, it's not uncomfortable, it's not rattling my fillings out, it's just soaking up the bumps and reminding me that I'm in a car, on a road, in the real world. The Honda Civic Type-R manages to belt out 197 brake horsepower, and that brings 60 miles an hour within your grasp just 6.8 seconds after departing. Thanks, of course, to a 2-litre 16-valve VTEC engine and a pretty close ratio 6-speed gearbox. Insurance Group, hello 18. As teenage dreams go, the Civic Type-R has got to be about as hot as you can get without adding Kylie Minogue and Carmen Electra into the mix, or a nice shiny new vacuum cleaner for the girls. But Ford are keen to get in on the act too with their newly launched Focus ST170. Actually, I don't know about get in on the act. They pretty much started the whole thing with legends like their XR2 and XR3. And now they're hoping that their Focus ST170 will recapture those glory days of old and once again bring sporting motoring to you and I, the masses. Well, they're not off to the best of starts, because whereas the XR2 and XR3 were in their day to look at, Larry, this is a bit sensible really, but still, let's not judge a book by its cover. generates 170 brake horsepower. The clue is in the name ST170, and it does that from a 2-litre Ford Duratec engine. Don't go thinking though that 170 brake means it leaps away scrabbling at the tarmac like a mad thing, because it doesn't. It's more sort of progressive power. It is rapid, but that's about it. Mad quick, no. What does stand out particularly is the steering, and it's not something usually I'd bother praising, but it is so fluid, so quick reacting, so easy to use, so predictable and so communicative when you're pressing on. It really is superb. If the Ford Focus ST170 takes your fancy, you'll enjoy the 170 brake horsepower, bringing a top speed of 134 miles an hour within reach. 0 to 60 is done in 7.9 seconds. It is a 2-litre 16-valve engine, and again that 6-speed gearbox. Insurance Group kind of splits the difference at 15. The way the whole car is set up, if you were to get this car onto a track, you start to remember just why the Ford Focus is praised for handling so well. If you really press on around the bends, as you apex, if you lift off the accelerator, you'll get glorious lift-off oversteer, so the tail will come out and step round nicely, impressing your friends, because you are then lacking a little bit in power to straighten the whole thing out at the other side, so be a little bit careful, and one for the track, definitely. Now, I don't know if hot hatch drivers are getting more sensible, but if this is anything to go by, then they are. It's the kind of hot hatch you wouldn't be afraid to take home to your mum, and that's not what we want at all. There could be a good reason for this though, because Ford probably at the end of this year have their viciously fast Focus RS coming out, and maybe they didn't want to steal its thunder with this, the ST170. Either way, if you haven't seen yet the hot hatch of your dreams, here's a rundown of our further 5 alternatives. I know, it is basically a Rover 25 in a gangster suit, but somehow it does the business. It's a sharp performer, the ride is hard but not harsh, there is a fair bit of road noise, and the interior ain't fooling anyone. Pure Rover 25. It comes 5th here simply because we wonder if it'll ever really overcome the pork pie hat and box of tissues velcroed to the parcel shelf image of its forebears. As the VW Golf GTI has travelled its path through countless incarnations, it's transformed from fiery, youthful inventor of the hot hatch phenomenon to frankly rather overweight 30-something. It's best now at all the least interesting things like security and practicality. The 1.8 GTI does manage at least to feel slightly sprightly, and what you can't knock is the VW build quality and reliability. It comes 4th. The Audi S3 Quattro may be towards the entry level of the Audi range in terms of size, but not in performance. It oozes quality from every pore and has plenty of power, and the added advantage of Audi's legendary Quattro 4-wheel drive. It may manage 0 to 60 in 6.6 seconds, but it's really not an out-and-out driver's machine, and it is a bit steep at 25 grand. In second place, the Peugeot 206 GTI. Good looking, spacious and quick too. It's grown bigger and fatter with age and lost that rawness that made the 205 GTI a defining hot hatch. At 13.5 grand though, it's not overpriced, and it must be good at something because it makes it to second. In first place though, a car to feature in 1,000 teenage fantasies, the Renault Clio 172 Sport. If Dad had one of these, you'd have to cosh him to get the keys. It's as close as you can get to a modern day take on the original hot hatches. It looks great, the interior's cool, and it goes, well, like a really, really fast car. Yeah, and that's about as close as you're going to get to any of our teenage dreams, chums, so crack on with it. And that is about it for this week's Car File. There's just one more important thing to do, and that is announce the findings of our investigation into hot hatch teenage dreams. Come on, carry on. First of all, practicality. In third place, the Toyota Corolla T Sport. Only 2 doors, limited legroom, no cup holders, and a bit cramped all round. 2 points. Next, the Honda Civic Type-R. Surprisingly spacious, but only 2 doors again, so it gets 3 points. 4 points, though, to the Seat Leon, with its 4 doors, huge boot, and cup holders aplenty. Next, value. Third place goes to the Corolla again. It's not got the kit, and yet it's the second most costly. So 3 points for you, chum. Next, the Seat Leon and the Honda Civic Type-R both get a respectable 4. The Seat is the cheapest and you get loads of kit for your dosh, whilst the Civic may cost the most, but it offers performance worth twice as much. When it comes to style, the Toyota and Seat are found trailing behind, looking less than the coolest, with 2.5 points apiece. The Honda, though, manages a funky 4. In the handling stakes, it's another draw between the Toyota and the Seat. Both get 3 points. The Corolla let down by soggy steering, whilst the Seat just feels too darn heavy. Top marks to the Honda, though. Its race car sharpness and raw-edged feel earn it 4.5 points. And finally, performance. The Toyota is once again left behind, let down by weedy power. 3 points and no friends, good luck. Second is the Seat. Its turbo power, kicking in from just 2,000 RPM or so, earns it 3.5 points. Peak performer then is the Honda Civic Type-R. It is hot, 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 and it gets 4.5 points. And so the final scores. In third place, the Toyota Corolla T Sport earns a measly 12 out of 25. Second place, the Seat Leon CUPRA scoops 18 points, but it must doff its cap to the undisputed king of them all, the hottest hatched and the sizzlingest teenage dream car, the Honda Civic Type-R. We salute you. That's it for this week. Join us next week when we open the Car File on small city diesels. Are they more boring than gardening, or do they have hidden secret depths? See you then.